Cancer ewo studio or founder Movement for Change. Na me kai my intro say 3 days ago and the National Economic Summit ewo in Kranha. Very well attended. More share pictures on social media. You would have seen the pictures and in Nipa itimikoko PMO at this event. Some of the top economic minds in our country enya kwan ekasa ewo. But to understand what actually happened, you know, the man behind the movement himself is here. The Honorable Alan John KWADWO KYEREMATEN. Honorable Akwa na pom te saying.
Yeah, Obi Mohoye, na uswe.
Adom, official panso.
You be that.
Official say na I swear we in as the next president of Ghana.
Amen. What can you do? Receipt, mama na. With the average power.
That's interesting. But I think 3 days ago now me follow social media, you know, into me home pictures, no, some of the very first pictures on social media. I was like, wow, very well organized event. The brain behind the National Economic Summit when they are there, what a day Panama person will achieve with this summit.
You be me that's it. The kind say uche Ghana for to do na. Ube hu say enkoma kon ado, omo kon ado say enka matters of national interest. Enka ebe freedom na ye nyina ya to adwene na yetimi a pension nsem no mu.
Sure.
Said ye be ya say ya adwene si na ya adwene kope a na achese Ghana man ni ya jotu say ana Ghana ye pese ye ko.
Sure.
Ti say o pese e bia we introduce e bia levy ana bibisa. So freedom no bia de na adwene ba na ye brubru na say ya adwene si wo so dia. It doesn't matter what government wants to do. It has to be accepted by the people who are going to be affected. And sir, the friend of non-partisan approach, you know. And no na me enemy movement for change, you know. Yes, that is the new political system. You pese ye di Ghana. Said the bear say some be wo ho fa ye nyina ye ho Ghana for. Na nkoye say NDC na MPP for nko asem say wo hwa na say asem bia ebeba Ghana bia no na ya politicize no na aye NDC versus MPP sabi nyesa na educate buman enti me say yen freedom from people from all walks of life, partisan, non-partisan parties no can hold there. Now, so young fair other stakeholders, near Kambum, na Yajun Cope, and only the kind. That also me no so. So take Ghana for no to do now. Domo can say, I feel your brave manifestos, party manifestos are election be a beba, na quiet promises, and go on. Now, there's no plan behind the manifestos. To oba na fei na wo be chire mu na de no so kwanza na wo ba be aye plan ebe ma wo promise no aye adwuma no na is what take you almost be 1 year dada na say be you enye you at that point is too late ya do baby enti na akwasi konzo gina ekwatia enti Ghanaians want to move beyond party manifestos. They want a national plan. No ana movement for change yen share adwumasi ya kase ye the great transformational plan ebeba plan no ye di kan dia ba na ye de ankra no the omo input omo beba no into the plan na eno akoye the national plan eno so ka ho entina ye share say great transformational plan na movement edeba no we must subject it to public scrutiny and only the second one. The third one also say again we take Ghana for no do na say there's a sense of responders people I say nipa
amanfo abamuabu
na ene na ye pese se nipa no dodo na etie nsɛm a movement eka na yɛde ama ankorakora wɔ mu nyinaa so ɛde ɔmo adwene no abara nye be so achia so emui to give hope not only to Ghana for Nankasa but also to investors say I ɔmo adwene say be a Ghana aduro die say mo sika bi 9% dia investment and ye memfa baby foforo if it's a normal tete about the economy na so ɔmo nim say there is a leader, a political leader, say nyame adum no be president, say ni no be na ama a sense of hope to Ghanaians and to people outside this country.
No, okay.
No man means any and
yes, high events. No, that's nice. And it was open to the general public.
Open to the general public. We advertised it, but yes, I said that special invitation.
Okay.
Ekoma interest groups, TUC for first political parties, no. Omunina Kumani Akesi na. Oh yes, Omobai.
Okay.
Bobo Mudin.
Omo reps by.
Omo reps by. Omunya reps by. Which was very impressive.
Okay.
Not just say Omo who say, yes, it is true. Say I'm fighting for political power. Some me a politician. Yes. I'm fighting for power.
Yes.
But I'm also fighting for a cause.
A cause.
A very noble cause. To Omo who say, this man making a idea be a babua Ghana. And he say, me pre-2 mini bidye. Now so my friend mungu ade. No so embeti. And so mo adwini bi a omo esoso e dia ka ho.
Okay.
Enti omo buy. And TUC say event TUC general secretary na secretary general
no abetena mu bi.
No abetena mu bi. Crossack.
Okay.
Pedifo.
Okay.
Omo so e buy. Ansana Chamber of Commerce. Just a good afo.
Okay.
Pedifo nyina buy. Na a handful software just people academia omunyina e baby I wanna say obi etimi mobilize domsia just to think about the country. I think I know quite positive.
Yeah. And I mean Guta president needing come and he made the point say ade ba kon no take it out and say TUC for urban apparently no more so prepare or document crown say or monso or my dream no how we was on mind ko eni o makuchire gukata so and o de ma
yes
some incorporate into the plan.
Yes oh but apart from that no yeah discussions are near almost so
participate. Okay.
Participate.
Essentially yes what me the reason behind this whole summit. But Nioma Bena mo discuss it or Indian him say the Great Transformation Plan waka ho asema Ghana for ate. Is it say o present a plan ne kire omo and a more elicit your views on the plan and I said to saying what was discussed?
Say the mekan no. Say o frefre dom see emedwene bibi. Say unya working document
e kire omo.
And no mbegina so e dey discussion. Won't be free nipa aka say obi anka ne dey. There be working document na yeah the man almost say omunyina so na omo form adwene bra eno ne
the
Great
GTP
Transformational Plan.
Okay.
Now what kind Great Transformational Plan now there were 5 clusters. They did kind the economic cluster. Na say economy no hunsensem no eno ne one cluster.
Okay.
The second one is governance.
Okay.
So I say if you deal with the economy, now you don't deal with governance issues. And no, well, quite over square one. And yes, our infrastructure cluster. And I don't see a war natural resource management and environment cluster. And your social services cluster. I know health, education, and also so. And your attitudinal and behavioral change of Ghanaians and also cluster. Tisawosha GTP no and yet just economy no all these areas you know but summit here not just to discuss the economic cluster
The National Economic Summit. Okay.
And a governance summit also. Now, all issues related to corruption, decentralization,
constitutional amendments,
yes, constitutional reforms, will be discussed at that summit.
And you do same for all the other clusters.
All the other clusters. The first one is the economy. The second one will be governance, because they reinforce
hand in hand.
Each other. Now, under the economic cluster, now you will different subject areas we are near discussing.
Okay.
Back with macroeconomy. Now, macroeconomy, under that, you're discussing how to bring inflation down, how to bring interest rates down, how to stabilize our currency, how to reduce our debt to sustainable limits, how to optimize revenue, and then how to control expenditure. So to Saosha, not just say in just one,
cluster,
so many on the macroeconomy.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm discussing industrial transformation.
Under the economic cluster.
Under the economic cluster.
Okay.
And yes, I'm discussing agricultural revolution. And yes, I'm discussing tourism. It is not an economic cluster. No, I want a popon and nine. A macroeconomy, no. I know inflation, interest rates, and you want industrial transformation, and you want agricultural transformation, and you want tourism. And today I say, "Sa normal nine," and I'm not yet the subject for discussion. War summit.
Oh, okay.
See, I will say, you're very deep now. We have provided 152 policy solutions.
And the economy,
152 policy solutions. And your problems near Coca or Nagana. Just say, Tambia Betia Ghana phobia. Say, yeah, on radio, say, yeah, Keko.
We only state problems.
We only state the problems. Now, from the beginning, say, problems here. We are now looking for solutions. And this summit was about solutions. We have proposed 152 policy solutions. Prescriptions. Say, we are a rule.
Sure.
You better doctor better prescription. And the prescriptions are a bit me my no. To me, I say we are no. And no, and I just say, discuss.
I'll come for us to look at one or two of our prescriptions. No, and before that, Michelle, opening remark now. You made the point at the end of the day, Ghanaians would want to know from this summit the following: one, how the country would be reset on a new path to prosperity from the economic ditch we find ourselves in now. Two, what specifically will be done to generate much more wealth in our country, and how this wealth will be distributed among all of us so that it is truly inclusive. Three, when, how, and who will be punished for the collective act of misappropriation and misdeeds in successive administrations. These are three very, very critical points. Into show policy prescriptions. Like number one, this is a major issue as only traders aiding common inflation rate, the cost of borrowing from and the issue of taxes.
Yes.
More prescriptions for Nyama and saying
taxes.
Very well.
In Ghana, your tax regime, may before make us say we have turned it
upside down. Okay.
Nice ye butu na the entire make us and say so ko amama ya o ma come ne o ma tumpo a wo show mo tax regime na ye friend direct tax no eno no ana o mu gina so a ye collect more taxes as against indirect tax. Ghana the opposite. Ghana, we concentrate on indirect tax, duties, levies, especially at the ports. We import to normal, charge over. And if you say no, easier to collect. Meanwhile, say what you know, yes, it is true. It's easier to collect, but the nipa your man will do on private sector. Omono, say we import to normal. Now, what load on with so many taxes. Nature say, only mean competing. Yes, only choice or due to the social, but yeah, or no super passing to the consumer.
Sure.
Until nature is acquired to say, the Juman Casano, and Coso, if it's on your competitive, the prices go high. The prices go higher, want to be competing even on the local market, and want to be competing on the export market. Until on your profit, to own your profit, or tax agency, GRA, want to be taxing. And now you say, oh, but you are crop, and we say, so, or evade the tax because taxes no a dorsal do. Until you are in a sense, indirect taxes, a private sector competitiveness, and our business is almost being and find your secondly, so and I'm saying taxes indirect as ye high, a human non cost, don't to employ nipa. So one to me employ nipa to do no. Now it's a government revenue being from direct taxes from employment or my and also whichever way you look at it, it doesn't really and yet sustainable. Until the first thing we have to do, which is what we are proposing, is say yes, sir, we have to recalibrate our tax regime structure. And we've been dealing with this for so many years. I can tell you, say yes, sir. There's no way you bet me a competing even
in turning it around. The focus now will come onto direct tax rather than indirect. Now direct, say Bansana. Now you say you reduce taxes and duties. So I say to allow people to compete. And become efficient and compete. No moment, woman, yes, she carry now tax and and then there's when you be to Trebia Mabaya and your problem. I first obey my fanipa or funny paddle do no. If I do also pay so obey your income tax. Now, no near Juma. Obi near Juma. So on your income tax. And I'm and I also would the 1 year and you, but also one casana. You are reducing your capacity to earn. But the challenge with that, Honorable, would be, sir, in the private sector, you have the formal private sector and the informal private sector. Unfortunately for you, or more the informal than the doors. And or more, the only way you can get them because it's not formal, indirect. How do you balance? So it can come back also. So the first one is to turn the regime upside down. Then secondly is to try and formalize the informal sector. So because at the end of the say. Said your work, informal sector no so there. Want to be and track or but say or formalize it or more. Not say the baby no and we informal so the same taxes say high into no we informal. So what you say that taxes now duties now or so also be or market to a beer. Se onim se onya ko register no as a proper company. GRA for eba attack. Enti no hye wan no na dia. And they say dem won say o taxes ni duties no che kwan wo mu adwuma obey no ene wo be koso na obedua. Oman se obey register the company no properly. If you say onim se or register the company no properly obenya benefits be oko banka our register na adwuma nti obetumanya bosia obetima fanipa nti enya nipa no pe some person ye informal but taxes ni say normal levies no anama de be nipa pi operate on the ground no nti say if they are making yes somewhere you will see the impact on the informal sector obia be register and no na e be broaden the tax base no. Because that's the second thing. Who reorganize the tax regime now? The second thing is then to help the informal sector to transition. So, for informal sector, we announce registration. You're sole proprietor. We are sole proprietor. We not pay and not for Webra, not for Webra. And yeah, we also have the Padudona, so episode more and formalize it. It is a prescription for formalizing the informal sector, and it's when you recalibrate your tax structure now. and we incentivize people to go and register their companies.
Yes, absolutely.
Or my former.
Yes. Yeah,
but how about those who would argue, say, the only way to capture majority of the informal sector is to use digitization, a easy way, use technology to get them on board. And also,
no, acquired to say a part of helping them when they have become formalized. To become
to make it easy for them to
yes, not the other way around. Now the work digitization and I just say the pan former say identity and or person or undercover business. Identity non person register in the business.
Yes,
because or share a year and I say taxes on kwa ubetuano. And you by the way by wayside and can or prefer. And it's not a question of just so we are digitization. No, we are formalized. Normal obeya a bit incentivize or to become formal. That's the first thing. We are digitization more efficient. And then number 3 so acquired to say your taxes in our casano so a doso dodo. So because apart from normal market,
the taxes generally
that's a doso dodo. Now acquired to say identity and a government a taxes are because revenue normal pay. But if we can reduce revenue leakages, so what I say, if we can reduce revenue and deal with corruption and the amount of revenue now yibenyano and Kauba say be free other places and not necessarily
taxes.
Taxes. So and acquired to say it's a lazy way. It's a lazy way
of raising government revenue of just by slapping taxes on the people.
To say electricity tax.
Yes.
Sebi. Japan say slap away because the problem has nothing to do with taxes. Rather, no, you can share the fundamental problems
economy,
electricity first, even electricity sector and energy sector. Now, how to improve it in terms of efficiency.
Yes,
from generation to distribution. For generation to transmission
to distribution. Sure.
And Sana, I just say what to me I can say you are increasing tariffs because the problem no from 3 areas here making. Now once of we no na say open say we increase tariffs there. Now I just say Usama especially more business and I uncompetitive because who person solve a problem, but it's the wrong way. I would just solve a problem. And 2 years now, we say Ghana already know tax electricity tariffs here already very high. Because for businesses.
Yeah, for businesses.
So until how are they able to compete even within or after African single market? African continental free trade area. And say I'm sure we will be pricing ourselves out of
benefit and there was from single market.
Because so we won't even competing. We call other inflation single digit.
Yes.
If your interest rates so much lower. Electricity cost higher. So be higher than your competitors. So how can you compete with them? Now compete with them. How can you then survive? How can you create jobs? Into a vicious cycle. Into a tax a unit and yet difficult.
I love the bit about say taxes are a dorsum, and I want to believe say based on
and levies.
Any levies, sure.
Now I am say okay, say your duties, your duties. You know, I say levies.
Yes.
Into a share say duty no koyena for because someone.
No, I know a levy.
The value is the same.
but the interesting point is for more as a movement and under this GTP, have you identified the number of tax handles? I'll say okay, wait there, because I recall when the NPP was campaigning in 2016, they itemized by 17 tax handles. Be almost with a nuisance or mobile Have you done something similar? Yes, you have taxes ne dorsum. Emu dia hin na my imagine say wait there. it will go. Way will go.
Say e-levy say from the beginning.
Okay.
You can say, just maybe at that time you see they solve a problem. But in the first place, they don't to have even appeared. It's a one with the major. Say even VAT increase here.
Yes.
Make a VAT increase from 12.5%. So if we had fixed the challenges in what economy making revenue leakages in it, so no money now.
Okay, necessary.
Because increase inflation.
Okay.
So can I say so we increase tax, and now we impose levies.
Sure.
A cost of production, a cost. So cost of production cost na prices no cost. So prices will cost say ne me 100 cedis na say etimi to one bottled water. Now say we increase bottled water no
cost of production.
Cost of production now a move from 1 cedi to 5 cedis. Now say we 100 cedis na we talk way we to be talk as a 1 cedi to be talk 100. Now you say it's over to only 20.
Sure.
And now say you are depreciating the quality of life. So. And now say your child room out cry say obi wa yet be child room no. I just say wonim say aduro no hia no say betimi ama ne ho aton but sika no oni sika o de beto enti no kra na so no reduce prescription I dey ama no na ono a reduce prescription no.
Okay.
So ultimately because of inflation. Inflation is also because of high taxes. And stable currency and stable. And all those indicators they reinforce each other. So when to me I'm fixing our economy now.
A cascading effect on BBR.
Cascading effect. I don't think in Adebia make us say the value of having Alan become president. Say, I will bring the economy back to life.
Alan KYEREMATEN.
Yes, I will bring the economy back to life. If it's a main train, can say, my best president, and so I make sure they meet my children, who show me GDP on inflation. My children, how inflation will come down to single-digit inflation. My children, how interest rates will fall below 10%.
Interest rate?
Yes,
below 10%.
But show how debt will deal with our debt. Say the buyer will have sustainable debt. I say about Bobusia. But show how expenditure control, government expenditure, how will be. The prescriptions are there. And when they say no, we are met me I submitted me a set of normal no. Mediama sabio different groups. I'm almost interrogate ya or my penis say wait there a no say before November no because not December go to election cry. Now say me cry all the I had to say content make me that prepare budget. And to me before the general election now I just say me my prepare the budget say when the opportunity comes to pay. Now, I just say already no. This is what you are going to do. This is what
you're going to do.
Winning say exports, winning projection. Wait my year. Winning BBR, say make interest rate down. Oh, now politicians will be or say we misro me ko kan obi be wi me
me idea.
Mapo na I don't know. Me fan sir.
Okay.
And the problem with manifestos is say you don't know the level, the detail. And watch video.
Just bullet point. But the other thing, one thing I heard, on the fact, say what the inflation about single digit.
Yes.
The interest rate about under 10%. For trader be and a business person be a would the person will be curious. In inflation, say 2025, what be your president? What do you do about inflation to bring it to single digit?
So first thing, see, I can say inflation. The rate at which prices rise.
Yes.
Now, the way I calculating inflation, you will be a friend of basket of goods. And no, and you use versus offer container.
Sure.
Yes, normal say, if you are body, mancani, bottled water, be foforo normal we na ya kan nyina no prices no ana ye di carry say
yes
inflation at this level say one of the no enti say o pese o reduce inflation na say normal what basket no and no prices na say kofom na normal basket me dey calculate inflation no the biggest one any food inflation
aduane ayedi
and when say o reduce the food inflation in Ghana, inflation will come down to single digit automatically. Now, how do you do that? If you say, then you take agriculture for example, you have to increase agricultural production and productivity. And say, my friend say bianca, your dog, now say a bro,
sure,
say 100 cedis per bag. So increase agricultural production and productivity. I feel ube who say from 1 acre now ube don. Ebia ubenya instead of ebia 10 1 ton and now 1 point from 1 acre ubenya 10 bags. I feel because of increased production and productivity ubenya 20 bags. Ubenya 20 bags and now is the cost per unit
ever conform.
Until the first thing is to increase agricultural production and productivity. And one thing I say no, say Ghana, you say we cannot only rely on small scale farming. Small scale farming, but moving into medium and large scale farming. And I know number one,
I know the states na lead this away
na state in the Bema incentives for commercial farming. State in the Bema incentives. There's nowhere in the world agriculture a year highly productive. Food you call Brazil you the find say more agriculture majority of a large scale commercial farming. And no interest small scale anymore. Where small scale or no crano. Small scale you can boom. A contiguous farming.
Sure.
You can boom. Said as if say a commercial farm. And now just do 1 acre, obi to 1 acre, obi do 1 acre. You become more boom. Now more than acquire be 100 acres, 100 people. Now actually say you treat them like one company. Into mo kwaje busia. Now and yes say 1 acre way now they be abeje busia. And yes 100 acres more ya come boom obi mamu
Bosia
now just say odi apeja. See that's the first one. Increasing agricultural production and productivity. Number 2, transport costs, any logistics, any distribution costs. Some fans say ukwa and I say we call a table. Now we call a brewer. A beer brewer no to be a 1 bag, be 10 cedis.
Yes.
Such as if you say no, the real farm gate price. By the time you do come no, maybe 100 cedis, no. I feel a group 200 cities. I didn't. Logistics and transporting the cost, the product from Jiranko to Hanokwa, and we increase by every transport cost.
Yes.
And I just said solution and they said we have to reduce transport costs. Now, very used to transport costs that, and also no, I had to say the cost. Infrastructure, roads leading to any other things
fuel prices.
I dare not about form not a reduce transport logistics cost. But you will be sure your friend profiteering. Sebi, obi no diga or drum. No man ye kofaba e wo mu say ye the transport cost no aka ho ne ade nti e cost no aso mu say normal cost no. No answer to the piato so a profiteering. If it's only say we won't even crash on Koto.
Yes.
And you are not so no found one, no so the young.
But no, it's difficult to deal with it. And I'm more solution.
Yeah, solution.
Okay.
And no one's a first solution and Kruman they buy any state food distribution.
Okay.
Now it's a buy no one casano.
A
totano mano. Not what they are back. Not I just acquire what me guarantee say. Say profiteering no anywhere. And I face so transport costs near the no betimi manage but no and sustainable and until you go yen until the same principle no but private sector and they say no the proposal no Uber licensing private distribution food marketing and distribution companies. Tell them who license on food distribution and marketing companies. The same thing. And state food distribution. Omono cover by nam say government a license on to best so massing say busia no mo pa aban guarantee no manya busia no afesu so no acquire to say bibia mo here e be reduce wo cost bia no on betimi na say because say wo do no buy your monitor and say wo be take advantage of the market e betimi withdraw license. It will say every district bia no na wo licensed food marketing and distribution company run by the private sector and your government na just when him say a table na bayire a brewer that marketing company no ono na a triba a supply the whole a brewer sa onions sa makoa ye wo na just a man say anya buy na you ba aban incentivize private sector or private sector no incentives na all incentives so obetumi monitor and regulate we are most of food prices food prices about for inflation will drop very sharply but the toso me no so no any currency so currency no enye stable and answer e devalued na what dey so tia yes na what dey try but means so affect inflation I didn't think because if it's a beer and who cram and then a beer who the who costs $1 a cocra a mona maybe 10 cedis to a dollar and I'm so see you know I'm more than no so tear now I feel ubesha who costs a 20 cedis to $1 and also and ya the other cram or boka over where is that when you open your and uber cock of a monobar. Not rate exercise. Say also increase or price. We increase your price. Not a non so no. I just affect say basket of goods. No, not food inflation so come. The third thing so say same exchange rate. Say we a good member. Now say o crowd normal. Ube who say u duty na utriano. Ye calculate no in foreign exchange. And now buy yes be a dollar no o crown no na 10 to next time obeba no na say do into we do to no just say you calculate no based on current
sure
no be say we see the no a weaker na say prices so e cost na mom ye proposal and say o mom crown no man no ba first as ye tete duties no so the medical port duties near the answer so number 2 so no so okra normal say see a more be 3-month window bia and foreign exchange rate no 10 to 10 cedis to $1
sure
for the next 3 months no say Bank of Ghana maintaining sa
okay
rate no
say or hedge the traders or
traders no for at least be 3 months. Said the buyer, even if say exchange rate no costra, the calculation I did for duty and no kwa there for 3 months there. Not said
the BOGMA OM your friend is a CD but BDC is not modified oil.
The same thing.
Okay.
The same thing. CSR inflation would drop just like that because 77 years before no pan no person mo buniba. But say na o kokra de na exchange rate no de bia esesa nya kosro de a say so no so passing on but o kokra no ma no way in the world that be bro 3 months say by 3 months they know we are normal cry now shape no aba into
but by no so no say BOG benya sa dollars the amount because the number of traders no a dozen or more doors no saying BDC is a far oil eba no and say BOG benya sa dollars na
the rate of exchange in the eka
Okay.
The rate of exchange.
Okay. And on pegging or baby.
And yet amount of dollars. Rate of exchange. You know. Because time the idea no depreciating. See the year we can.
Yes.
Now say we have more cities.
And ordinary dollars.
The rate of exchange you declare normal. And
okay.
Rate of exchange declare normal.
At the port.
Okay. Port as
okay.
Rate of exchange you declare normal. And I can once say I see is stabilizing for a 3-month window. Now, apart from that, there are certain essential commodities we are there a soccer until they are able to produce medication. No
pharmaceutical products.
Sugar, rice. So, say you bombardina sanoma you start producing one. But until say local production
because I was say a crack.
Sa a see a crack. Until for some money there, say Bank of Ghana and different rates. And no there
okay.
We change at the port in the account. And no there say we are $100 now they are crack. And I say we are for Sa you know one the lower rate than the market rate.
The market rate. No?
And the market rate in there, so to make us say, oh yes, for BBR and the but for essential commodities, I don't know. I was say all these and Okabomwa inflation within 1 year to just come.
It will come down to a single
interest rates also the same thing. But inflation,
sure, inflation now.
But interest rates.
Now, also on the bit about our Greek and what you want to do in a Greek, no. The last time any government, if focus say specifically on a Greek, this MPP administration, they're planting for food and jobs, and they were committing close to 600 million Ghana cedis every year in budgetary support for that program. I don't know. I mean, so what kind of document, PFJ document now? Very comprehensive. And all of that. The result has not turned out to be what they envisaged. How different would it be? And in terms of budgetary support for the agric revolution, I say this because so what Ghana a land tenure system now, and as a lawyer yourself, I know say unim. Say getting land for large scale farming projects is easy. So buying ankasa through compulsory acquisition that big and far ujama private sector be any results now madrin along those lines
in so many ways.
Okay.
You say you will be a friend agro parks.
Okay.
And industrial parks. When say industrial parks here for manufacturing.
Yes.
And agro parks here for agriculture. And I said, and said the walking. And an bebre wa. One was I say, Nanso so no abayin said, quanchebin by say, or the Nasa 10,000 acres be Emma or minor Bumua. When you say, na also obey to any free. And your more penny say, yet in one plot to Elton. Now buying said, man, one more quanchebi say, me what 10,000 acres be a Bumua. Met me ama yedi ama ebia large scale commercial farmer na what me there enti yes land reform no there say but the maker say even kindly crown say abai to me signal say the maker you see be agro park no nature say acquire to say large tracts of land me one acre where large tracts of land now, and only you are designated as an agro park.
States never facilitate here, no?
Yeah, they never facilitate here, no. But still, a year or more. But the private sector, businessman, buying airborne, ama one, I am for negotiating. Now say 10,000 acres. Now you are designated as an agro park. You are not buying irrigation, not and you say irrigation call, as electricity echo, as acquiring echo because acquire production area be just say you to me trust as you or my one there
And Ode
Kodo, but with all the facilities.
Is there a model like this anywhere?
Oh, yes, you call Asia, that is the model. So I can say, it is said the industrial park, but
this time for agric.
For agro park.
Okay.
It is nice. I buying the end say, and now buying the co-invest you, but I buying the end say, one or what say, Obi na one will say, hey. Now, Saturday, never buy there, and now buy bet me a facilitate here. Wo one be a I am for and no bankers. One negotiating with government say, you be mount to say the neck one the one if you are pencil say, you be approval. Wo site ya only I am for when you know, I will cut 10,000 acres. You be an agro park. Say, not not just say no. Banks no so agricultural finance and no so member and no so no just once what designated area no na say obia or back into the agro park no the tbia no who all the facilities into ye ma obosia ye you say I say abai tower and apart from that no so no we be make sure say they are processing companies
in that
enclave no it's a man I say enclave that they are processing what 10,000 acres who the developer agro park developer now say when him say ebedua mrono ebikura 200 acres ebikura 500 acres no mu nyina ye twetwa asase ni bi ho amoma ko wo no wanya lease no say ye twetwa asase na amoma na electricity wo ho ayi wo ha me so person me processing no me metimi invest in a beer a processing mill this na say no so me guaranteed of the raw material supply.
Okay.
It's an integrated framework obetimi dey aye no enti banyi na so ejina agricultural credit.
Yes.
Yeah, analysis here no say obia wo pese wo succeed in agricultural say interest rate you know should not be more than 9%.
Not more than 9%.
If you want to be very competitive.
Okay.
And it means for agricultural finance, you know, say buying working with the banks, you know.
In your specific way, be the
man. Now, no, unless how to me copy or Bank of Ghana for us. Once a BBI, we can be interrelated.
Sure.
If it's a Bank of Ghana or more reserve requirements, and no, you catch yourself size able to Bank of Ghana, a your bank.
Yes.
And yet you may to back up way.
Sure.
Sure. Sikano da hoka. And no for special projects like this. A buy between Bank of Ghana ho kwan. Say when we release this Sikano, part of it. Emma
banks no, specifically for way,
but at a certain
interest rate.
Go and cut where you nanka wukra de Sikano what the Akoto Bank of Ghana that when in that so say what the baby at the hoka. And I buy as a recycle, so reserve, you know, but at competitive
interest rate.
And you say no, what say oh a bank, who's Oscar, but they say the new Oscar. The yarn say at the requirement, but they say no there. Yet we say at the me but below the market specifically for special projects like they make it.
Baba, and no, so no, don't you think, sir, with your knowledge in economics, no, and leading to so much money in the system chasing fewer goods? Because Usain could release that money, capital adequacy ratio, Bank of Ghana, but that will be more cash in the system. Maybe the inflation knows what's saying.
But you see, said American.
Okay.
One more theoretical
economics.
And a casa said too much money in the system. In what sense? Because the amount inflation ebano. And it's when there is too much money
chasing fewer goods.
Sure. And the cost of inflation. But there it is going to be a catalyst for enhanced production. And it cannot be too much money chasing few goods because you are expanding also
the agric base.
You know. You are expanding the industrial. Agro parks now your industrial parks. And you are expanding the base. You know. And it cannot be too much money chasing, because it's going directly to the productive sector. So who releases our system? Now it is not going
for consumption.
For consumption. And no increasing inflation. But not when it is financing production. Now say utie economies be omo kasa just omo nya practical. Omo dey make a practical. We yam say why economics that. It's very simple. Say omo dey make. And you see a sana inflation be from interest rates be from, because a complementary policies.
That's a very interesting policy. For more Amutia, many Honorable Alan KWADWO KYEREMATEN, he is the leader of the movement for change. We are trying to get an understanding into the Great Transformation Plan, which is GTP, and the linkage to summit and some of the inputs and he's trying to break down the economic cluster under the GTP and in Nyoma as some of them a reduced inflation, some of them a lower interest rate, and all of that. And common so far. If you have any question for him, question ebeba in WhatsApp number, so I'll be reading all your messages for you. But I mean, sign for WhatsApp number into your 0548 443 523 0548 443 523. If you have any questions, please, we are ready to read your questions. You wait me at the Abraying, but honorable apart from okay.
Also, I've been talking about a cash and jobs economy. A cash and jobs economy. Because the American, and no na edisika, a bus system. Now, as I create jobs, because the government, is supporting the private sector to increase investments in the productive sector of the economy.
Yes.
And no an idea, and only jobs and cash economy. Yes, but also.
But I like the bit about the agro parks and industrial parks concept. Not just say, so we'll be setting industry to close the raw material. We'll be that constant flow of raw materials to power industry. It seems in the current industrialization plan now with champion that was a bit missing. Raw material flow into why was that?
No, America. Basically, me bo about service. It means what was it? Anti no man. On say, data may look for executive authority. And he said at that time, me executive authority there. That's a main and member direction for the entire economy. During my time, night I say, me industry until I can move on industrial parts. So on, I know this is agricultural sector. There's a limit to which you can dictate. And Dr. Koto de minu ya preocupe until not ye di but say make I know what the plan. And I'm missing one plan. Now the American say maybe a president. It is not just the industrial part, because I have the authority to drive policy in all sectors. And I mean, Tracy Mayor President may say the mayor. And the industrial parks no so are successful. No, and no na mayor can say agro parks. Will now complement the industrial parks to make agricultural production and productivity even much higher. Now, and I'm saying we experience industrial parks. The only industrial park was Tema free zone.
Okay.
The
free zones enclave in Tema.
Free zones enclave because NDC time, PNDC time, that time, they are quite assassin.
Okay.
But nothing was going on. Now you were a World Bank project, Gateway project. Now Gateway project, me buy a for time. Me free America as ambassador. Me buy Minister for Trade and Industry. Now kasa, you call World Bank Washington kasa. Now, what's a Gateway project? Must start here almost by so many years, and a consultants. But near Konya, I went to Washington to defend. He said, Debbie, I said, you restructure the whole Gateway project and then invest consultants into building infrastructure. We will say that free zone, because one infrastructure, one
company.
And I defended it, and then they accepted my proposal. And I feel omode scanning na ye reprogram sikano. Anna ye die tema free zone. Now so how rapidly it yeah by now it was almost like a grazing land so now I do baby I didn't say well become myself. So I have that experience. And I also me buy is so no say me that we so na me promote to industrial parks.
1D1F.
No, 1D1F.
Oh, the industrial parks.
Industrial parks.
Okay.
The Katama free zone.
Sure.
I was saying, no one made here say, apart from Tema, you need any industrial enclave. And no one made started the Greater Kumasi Industrial City, which will be the next biggest project in Ghana, just after Tema City. And to have that experience in industrial parks, now because you say no, if I become president, there will be agro parks also, because that's the only way we can
feed the industry.
Yes.
One very significant point you made was on buying revenue generation, and because all the beautiful plans you have, so to me, you need money, you need resources, and buying buying sources of revenue, no, at least bear me into taxes, loans or grants. And here be loans and grants near the uncle for the baby. Basically, me and son. One man who said taxes be no a lazy way of raising revenue. Loaning, so no, because of the current situation of the economy, you cannot maybe go out there borrowing more. And grant any sanium because we are now a middle income economy, lower middle income, no grant and winner previously and maybe you. And really government revenue be free here na ABBA because if you will not introduce or you cut down on taxes, how are you going to raise revenue?
Yes, the way forward for us as a country.
Okay.
There are normally 4 sources of raising capital for development.
Okay.
4 windows. Back and our government revenue.
Yes.
So you say government revenue. Mature how we can, and no one can read.
Sure.
Mature how we can optimize and I be increase government revenue.
Yes.
It been make about who reduce taxes now. It will increase the government revenue because you expand the tax base.
Yes.
So people will now be more incentivized. So on better taxes. But no put the fund say it won't be for into so in the short term.
Yes.
Yes. And that window is limited, kakra. Loans, we've closed ourselves out, not only of the external market, international market, domestic
even
market,
domestic.
Forget it, because that exchange program say workers will be emphatic can to
treasury bills we are adding
because we need time till we've closed ourselves out of both the domestic and the external market. And the other things, so the other source, any official development,
partners, grants,
so say the one can you drew the middle income, and I didn't as that.
Sure.
Now you'll be busy a friend donor fatigue.
Yes.
Your middle income cry do baby. Now above.
Yes.
See, the sources of capital inflow completely diminished for us. Which leaves us with only one window.
I know you're
private capital, domestic and foreign.
Private capital.
Domestic. That is the whole solution, say to Ghana, post IMF program. Private capital.
Domestic. Private capital.
Private capital, they acquired to say private investment.
Okay.
Investment capital.
Okay.
And he said, baby, I'm going to sika. Aye development. And you analyze it, you close.
Yes.
Say I can't private for no one is sick. Or be 1 billion be so free at least only sick. their incentive now bet me their manual
Obeba
or the
can
economy both domestic and foreign and who push it domestic for no now I no I say more incentives in a way so obetina sika no so no and enka or the best investment because incentives no be multiply no ni sika no say one with the better say dey ka say excess liquidity a Bank of Ghana say enunti na yon person use policy rate no the more pay up sika ni na say sika was system yes so more right incentives now that money becomes available. And foreign direct investment, you don't need to borrow if you put in the right incentives now. The investments will come. Uber saw your choir. And this is what they told who say government say, Uber your revenue. It is not possible. It is not going to happen. America for it ain't gonna happen. You ain't gonna buy. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So what I say. And yes, and he said. Say no, foreign direct investment must be a major part of the agenda. Now America, Germany, France, investment, foreign investment. And now
yes,
baby, you try $1 na kazano. One more crap for investment. We know be a friend golden visa. Utia first nanka 250,000. They say no more increase no. Because some pay investment. Omo mu try $1 na kazano. Because some pay investment no. One more say 250,000.
Yes.
They say them say cost. They say 500,000. The member visa, a green card. The member green card. And a coin beer won't bet me a trees can happen. Say and yan say or no borrow to finance also do sick about the system.
Sure.
We have to have a different mindset now as a country. Now, and no, it is no cost to the government. So, now, and no, Anna, a bit to me as a fee, say, I'm making roads, say, and no, not just say, I buy wood and yeah, what can you say? Obey our buying. Then, their incentives that met me, their
private sector. Come on, and maybe you told it.
You told it. That is how it is done. In all these, so to kind. Oh, baby, Baba,
is it that easy to do?
No,
PPP arrangement to build roads, no? Because this government and previous ones, ACA, we've heard it in budget and all of that. It's not been done.
No, because Upa audit said, we say, dear partner, no problem. We will catch us say, oh, I dare no buy no, almost say traffic flow, no. It does not.
Okay.
Okay.
Into
yeah. But a chicken and egg situation, because if you expand the economy, the traffic will come.
Oh, come.
Is that what you say? Say, Ufa say, Usha, Accra Kumasi, Accra Kumasi. Say, Ghana is in a running. Private.
Sure.
Sure. Every day, we know how many
cars ply that route.
Not even cars, mechanics.
Can't wait. Okay.
Even that one,
local flights, no.
Local flights. Yeah. Make sure how the private sector.
Yeah.
Once the incentives are there, no, the traffic will be generated. So first, so we will be on fruit.
Yeah.
Say.
Unya flight, sure.
So because they say no, Oman will say private sector, and almost say traffic no. But when the economy expands now, business will expand. Sanity and with the kind of a planner, great transformation plan we invested a kind of because this is the country
that I need to come and
invest. Because Osha Noma Yake Kanwa, no one says I paying the Baba president there. None not I a sense of hope be say. Some of them is call Africa no ground, if I'm going to Mississippi. But some of them is called Vietnam and now they call Bangladesh. Says Sandy Payne the president. Not San no man one change over the president was send me back. Say inflation Baba say near many incentives and some bay choir say the investors will come. No dear. Oba now say you are only regulating they be a me fancy toll you know
sure.
And I'm more agree say
sure.
it will not exceed a certain amount. But your mindset to be and now corruption into Tambia as a government yet involved.
For procurement
government by a contract. Where contract will be 10%. The BPN acquire say at the end is a government you can
when the private sector can easily do it.
They can easily do it. And no and make us say so we should airport is here. Say so because you say better than I say banana is airport. It is not true. Even workers also for security reasons airport some of the most sophisticated airports in the world private sector
and they see
investments.
Not they managing the airport. They built it.
They build the airport and manage. If you are invest,
build, operate, transfer.
Now, if you also invest normal, or be managing, baby port,
sure.
And your private port expansion. Ghana government is saying a private sector sika.
Sure.
GPH or almost 1% just for the land.
Sure.
So, but the money no Casano to build
private capital,
private billions of dollars, and no they buy. But what they make out here,
I get it.
Into infrastructure, and no, a government revenue nisikano. If you give the right incentives to the private sector, both local, make us both local and yeah. They will build the infrastructure.
I am a bit interested in into the private capital coming in with the right incentives to build infrastructure. And I believe say the infrastructure wing under more economic cluster no and only acquire obefa so finance the big infrastructure project. The other thing here FDIs no. And so we share GIPC reports over the years. In fact, in 2021, we beat Nigeria in terms of FDIs in the West African sub-region. The question I be bringing Busane say when these FDIs come, because we incorporate a company now we go through GIPC route now. Say a 100% foreign owned company. It's about $1 million and I would they buy into the system and the cry is car they baba say a JV so a moose car a local and all of that. But the argument has been made, say we only focus on this year FDIs, foreign direct investment companies are about 3,000 and still we complain about job creation in our system. And they say all the incentives we don't feel the impact on the economy. What can you do?
The sectors are
investment
share the GIPC now share the sectors idea no kono. The mining sector for example traditionally so much a big job creation and I feel so export earnings so far and back in media. I'm now talking about a new economic paradigm there. The investment code, any the agency must be completely overhauled.
Okay.
Because we are in a different what made China what it is today is based on two things. Bringing in foreign investments and then export development. Time on say China but 1989, that was about 30 years plus. 1999, when they got a transformational leader, I'm not going to say, now, a crocus to say over 1 point something billion people. I pay them ye two. We hear what I say. I'm not going to say, let's open up, bring investments. What the bar local investors no, they would be partnering with them. Now, what they buy, then they increase production. When they just production one, about what to be two factory no go. The old baby, but the important thing is create jobs. If you create jobs now, the people earn income. So what I say, when they earn income, they increase their consumption. When you increase consumption, I thought to me a turnover. Now it's no also creating more demand for investment. Now I no who so no as export normally you produce no. Now when you're more foreign, So the American, it has been done everywhere. The only thing, and it's a new mindset.
Okay.
Say this is the only way forward. Until DIPC, they are working. Say, "Upa na usha." We won't say, "Yeah, investment laws no baby cry anti-investment." Investment laws are cry anti-investment. Now, my man will just 2 examples. Obama, maybe a minister thinking along the same lines, and I make I say one of the sectors I see promoting automobile
sector.
Because we share all the big economies in the world almost in the leading automobile producers.
Sure.
From US to China
to Japan
to Korea to Germany to France. Almost it is a sector utu say bibi wom nti na omu nyina ekoho no. Let me replicate it what I say. Men kasa me koje busian bi e dia bisisi. All I did was the right policy. Because I bind there, who instrumental who crowd with me at the physical by any policy. If you put in the right policies, the money will come. And until once we put together the right auto policy, once within 1.5 years, all the major automobile companies are assembling cars.
Sure.
And your government money. Oman e do almost say one would make and until say Osha, now say when you have the right policies and the right incentives now, the money will come. I would say, on create jobs. And I face then increasing demand for other things. Say, Mr. T. Otto, he say, you aluminium industry now, bauxite aluminium, iron and steel, you steel now. Now, petrochemical so add value to oil and gas. We say no near plastics. And you say within the next 3 to 5 years, Ghana you produce steel, you produce plastics, you produce aluminium. Now say components are you dear car. Now say fed usa. You are moving from assembly to manufacturing. Until a integrated strategic plan.
For the automobile companies, a babe set up. When you speak to them 2 years down the line, are they happy? Or make it?
Say sure. But once Omuna are even competing, they are happy. They are making 5-6 companies. Toyota, Nissan,
Sinotrack,
Volkswagen, Hyundai,
okay.
And Kia. You know, Omuna bear 4 or 5 models. A basic we are say new company, assembly plant. Normally, was to call the bear 2 models. Omuna be Kia bear 5. Hyundai bear 4. Cars
and are people buying them?
People are buying them. Almost Portocra. Says almost Portocra. Echo. Nasanka and Koya and more companies.
No come.
Say the idea problem on war. Me so the Asra are buying. So immediately they must make sure they deal with it. They say, one of the incentives are a more mobile. And they say a group idea. You bear certain regulations be a just a bema or mona jumano so across. And no, I'm sa catch kakra into parliament. I said parliament should look at
regulation banks.
I said there were several I said benchmarks say over a certain period of time, not immediately.
Okay.
Say after a certain period of time, cars above a certain age,
okay. So will not be brought into the system.
Yes, want to be for important cars, but Oma graduating.
Yeah.
So what I say, if you are from a year, cars every 5 years, and there's no problem. Between 5 and 10, if you are a period, and so after that, if you over 10, so no my way, a bema the local assembly, no so. I say I buy no she say no. I say
Very well, very well. What I'll do is I'll read some few messages. We are a very important question. Having said all of these, do you think, sir, you are the right person to execute our agenda way for Ghana? If you think about our question, I mean, kind messages kakra na fe yen twas we could see saying higher sempa 94.7 FM. If you are listening to us, we are talking to Honorable Alan KWADWO KYEREMATEN, founder of the Movement for Change. Entwa way, so okay. Let me see. Very well. My main carry we say Obi. Since when did Honorable Alan get to know that imposing taxes is a lazy way of generating revenue? He held one of the highest positions in government and was part of the economic team. What is the difference between what he's saying and what the NPP said before coming to power in 2016? Also then, did he face any challenges with Ken Oforiatta? That's why we couldn't implement these ideas. Gastiman or Brikum or the ba any. We say Obi, please ask Mr. KYEREMATEN to tell us how successful all his initiatives were. Also then, Agua in President Kufuor's regime and how they all ended. Kweku Usu uo Kufuridia Agua. Okay. We say Obi, ask Honorable Alan what his plan for the northern part of Ghana, especially the northeast region. Okay, that's from one Wale Seidu Damba. Wale Seidu Damba. Nedia Onodia Bray Enono. We say Obi. When did Mr. KYEREMATEN realize that taxes are killing business? What recommendation did he make to the cabinet? Because he was a member of the cabinet. I'm asking this because I remember vividly that Guta members were on him day in and day out to do something about some taxes related to importation, especially when the government decided to implement the benchmark value policy. Okroye Boa or Breman Benin and ono the way abraying. Okay, we say Obi, please ask Honorable Alan if he acknowledged the effort of Dr. Bawumia by instituting digitization in most sectors of the economy to minimize revenue leakages, and if he accepts that fact as the way to go to achieve his idea. Okay, is that the way to go to achieve his idea of revenue leakages? That's Godfred Adowa or Bronx in New York, and ono the way abraying yadase. Okay, let me proceed. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday to Dr. Gift Yeboah Kyereme of the KWADWO Teaching Hospital Medical Block. From Mr. and Mrs. Kyereme and your siblings, they say age gracefully in strength, good health and prosperity. And the Dr. Gift Yeboah Kyereme of KWADWO Teaching Hospital do have a really, really good birthday and live to be 94.7 and beyond. This one says that Obi, please, I want to find out from Honorable Alan. There are rumors making rounds on who really introduced the Friday Africa wear. Some say Honorable Apreku and some say it was Alan who brought it. Can he kindly clear the air on that for me? Nana Amponsa Bediakon Odia Breye Enono. Okay, I hear you. Honorable Wahobe Yano the amount. Let me see the other ones we have here. We say Obi. Let me see. I've heard your guest. Okay, in the way Patrick or Ashalaja, and you say you've heard him, but still, Enyadia Obeto Ede Amano. Anyways, this one says that Obi. Good evening to you and your cherished listeners. Mr. Alan KYEREMATEN has a very good idea as to how to transform the Ghanaian economy. But this fine gentleman was part of the EMT led by Dr. Bawumia for almost 7 years. I can say for a fact that Alan, together with Dr. Bawumia, mismanaged the Ghanaian economy, blah, blah, blah. Alfred Kojo Traders, Odia Breye, and Onomedasi. Obi, the movement for change and the new force have a lot in common. Please ask Honorable Alan if he would consider joining forces with the new force to take power from the bad governance of the NPP and the NDC. Defend our shy health. You don't share a potential measure between the new force and a movement for change. Where's Obi? I have studied economics, but I must say Alan's knowledge in practical economics is excellent. Wow. His explanation of too much money chasing fewer goods has increased my understanding extensively. My family, my friends, and my village are voting for Alan Kyerematen Kwame Jude Ewo Bekwai constituency. Bekwai constituency. Okay. This one says, Obi, Alan is a national asset. It's unfortunate the NPP sidelined him. I wish him well in the upcoming election. Nana Kwame, Ewo Ashonman Estate here in Accra. Okay, Nana Kwame, yeah, that's it. Papa. Where's hello, Obi? Alan Kyerematen has a proven record, an incorruptible leader. He's tried and tested. He would be a great leader to transform Ghana. I'm glad to be part of the movement for change. This is ZK from Amasaman. ZK, thank you. Thank you for coming through with your message. Let me see. This one says, hi, Obi. I am surprised that Honorable Alan had all these fantastic policies in his mind and refused to bring them on board when he was appointed to this MPP administration. Or should I say he gave out these fantastic ideas and they were all rejected? I am sure it is not just a talk like how NPP did in opposition. Sir Prince, Ewo Ayensuano in the Eastern region. Good day, Obi. Please, does Honorable Alan appreciate the fact that inflation is being spoken about in a negative sense all the time, at least in the Ghanaian discourse, as though the concept of inflation is completely a bad phenomenon? Let him know that moderate inflationary rates are necessary for economic growth and development. Businesses won't see any incentive to produce since prices are always reducing. The net effect is unemployment. So please ask him to which rate of inflation is ideal from his perspective as a former trade minister. Okay, interesting. Kwesi Evans, Mankesim, in the central region. And we are brain. Obi, Honorable Alan Kyerematen speaks economic wisdom than any presidential candidate I've listened to from 1992 to date. I hope he makes an impact in the coming election. Kojo Sanka Ewotema. Obi, you are too much. Obi, listening to Mr. Alan carefully, any positive that can be mentioned under both President Kufuor and Akufo-Addo's government in the trade ministry, he says he did it. But anything seeming negative that we expected to be done but wasn't done, then he says he didn't have the executive power. Okay, God bless our homeland Ghana. Orbit or Takrade Orbit, he's here. He would respond to your message. Obi, imagine Alan as president and Honorable Otiko Afisa Jaba as vice president. Hey, like Ghana be fekeke. Oh. Okay, the Alan Kyerematen. Bianokra leads me to my next question. Honorable Indy, Basse Nyame, I don't know we need be a president. And I say, even in campaign, would you have a running mate on the ticket?
At a point in time, yes.
Ubenya running mate on your ticket. Okay. I asked that question because sir, we don't know the vice president from Nkrumah, for example.
Yes.
In Tibia, also be I just say, vice president. Okay, very well. Mate, enti ma main kind be two messages. Being messages net doors me di extra and a young sorry in connect. And I'll read just two and then I come to you for us to wrap it up. We say Obi. My name is Ransford. My question is on the currency stability. What factors needs to be taken into consideration in order to stabilize the Ghanaian currency? In the Ransford question, no. Obi, I want you to ask Alan. Okay. Or say I want you to ask Honorable Alan that if he believes indeed that Ghanaians would vote for him. Obi, I'm asking this question because he might have done some sort of feasibility studies coupled with the worst performance of independent presidential candidates in the Fourth Republic. Is it not just a waste of time and resources, knowing very well that he will not even get 5% of the vote? Kofi Akufo-Addo, University of Kent in United Kingdom. Ode abreye no. Loads and loads of questions. And the more the better, sincere apology. We cannot read all of your questions. I know, say, majority no one sermon person mubusa, but we have to end this interview at a point. Okay, Obi Busase, Obi, ask Alan that why is it that when he was in government, he never came on radio to speak for the government? He never brought these ideas to government. Why? Oh, really? I interviewed him as trade minister on a number of occasions. I was studio. But my memory first, even before we address comments, Nibia Abano.
Yes.
The Great Transformation Plan and everything we've discussed every year. Why do you think, say, you are the right candidate to implement Sanyama way? Why not any other person but Alan?
Very well. Okay. There's one important point that I want to make.
Okay.
Also, I've been talking about government reducing their level of expenditure on public infrastructure from government revenue because it is not going to happen. And then America said, "Uko baby my maya oma tumpon a private sector and ya more incentives and more public investment." So uko Washington, Dallas Airport. Dallas Airport, yeah. That is the biggest airport in Washington DC. A private investment.
Oh, Dallas is private investment.
The heart of America. Not almost international airport. A private investment. And a lot of people also do not have the understanding and exposure to how things work globally. FM. And it's obetiana is a beer on the American very respectfully. The American won't be some way. That is the key to the Ekanya. But said na ubisano. Na opese
why you think you are the right person to implement this?
Now, very simple. You say, Okonfua, or they now come over on one grow. So we share the intensity of policy solutions here, media by. If we are honest, Ubehu say, if I'm given the opportunity to become president, na me superintend and na me supervising the implementation, then you can see actual results. If you say acquire to say nipa no the vision and what translate into policy solutions.
Okay.
And me obi aso nim say me an action man. Obia wo hwe me record ni ade nyina. So people don't know my background. The only one say politics but if you know my background, the me ye and son na me ba be politics.
Politics.
Now, but who say it's not just the vision, it's also the execution and implementation capacity. Basically, main media ideas here. I know, say I will be the best person to implement ideas. I know that at the head, and we are president now, a leader. Now, even if you have the vision, now say one kasano, you don't have a good hold over the vision, and then how it is generated. Of course, there will be challenges in even supervising and directing the implementation. See, the way I'm making my original way, I've submitted it to experts. Oma discuss maybe I say improve, and the massa a wide, I will say,
stakeholder group.
Consultation group. Anna Oma validate. Anna man fancy say me train number president and sana biana because can obi baby we my ideas. I've put everything my cards onto the table. See, execution there obviously once I've opened up number then you can trust say I'm the best person to enough faces on what me past record and make us a past record. It should give you a sense of whether certain ideas so can you pay obey my yano na say the piano nipa enim enough now just one example patrotio because people think it's a politics and a mammy be nipa now say if in 1994 internationally they are looking for the 100 leaders of the new millennium. So it's a millennium started in 2000.
Sure.
Now in 1994, towards preparing for the new millennium, almost assessment globally, who are the 100 people in the world who are going to lead
in the new millennium.
In the new millennium.
Not in Africa.
Not in Africa. This is Time International Magazine. Time International Magazine.
1994.
1994. 1994. Before you ever start a new millennium, thinking ahead, who are the 100 people who they believe will start
lead
in
the
the
new
world?
millennium.
Omubodin, Bill Gates, Alan Kyerematen.
Now at the time, now we are doing. What were you doing?
Me Mama UN. Saturday na me responsible for enterprise development near Adenia. Because omo adwuma na me in the whole of Africa trying to develop local enterprises ne adeno. Bill Gates ono 94 no started 92 and now started but show one the sense of vision and no 92 almost was start here no na 94 ye 100 people in the world na ye Bill Gates din na ye Alan Kyerematen of Africa na ye John F Kennedy din na ena opobia mo be di president na wo pe obi a obetimi a implement transformation in Ghana. What evidence do you need again? The evidence will be because at the end of the day, we have bekasa. But the problem is on purpose. Because say, "Ejuma ben wayeda, ejuma ben nyab the ejuma politics are ebia ye peja wonsa na wodi be politics before who be politics. What is the scope? Me at the age of 22, now I was a manager in the largest company in Ghana, a UAC.
22.
22. Now me go school at the age of 4. Because secondary school, no, I did 9. At the age of 22, not me a manager was the largest company in Ghana. UAC.
And Nestle, no?
And that be Unilever.
Oh, Unilever, sorry.
Yeah, UAC Unilever.
Sorry.
So one of them mentioned. And he said, from where I started, from that time, and I had a distinguished record in the private sector. And so I made MDP. I was one of the leading consultants. Not a restructured government enterprise, government. So our policy idea, my from the 80s. Many of the major institutions, not me common teams normally. And Sana, the whole of United Nations or more program for building entrepreneurs or enterprises. Africa, AFCFT, African Continental Free Trade Area, and Africa will be the biggest project. Me need the chief architect for AFCFT.
For after, no?
After.
By chief architect, what do you mean?
Chief architect in terms of design. And then the
implementation.
Yes. Because one said, you're free, President Kufuor and a UN for Nankasa invited me to come and restructure African trade.
Okay.
Oman invited me. Ankasa me na me pay juma. Oman invited me because I said now me previous experience in the UN in the private sector. Oman invited me. Me call Ethiopia, UN Economic Commission for Africa. My first project, they say, unless we create a single market for Africa, it's not going to happen. Maybe between 2011 and 2013, I'm saying, now had completed that exercise. But they are called heads of state, or my approval, say, yenye AFCFTA. And just say, the Obia, what me, I created this whole major intervention in Africa. Na nyamia sa ya madum na makomwa na masa abaye Minister for Trade and Energy na AFCFTA asa abatwe afene ya negotiations no awie enuka no mu wie mia na misa ka ho beto ya complete negotiations no ansana because I was Minister for Trade and Industry mia misa under President Kufuor mia misa campaign together with my colleagues and Otumfuo, President Kufuor, President Rawlings, any ministers, but the campaign was led by me. and a headquarters for AFCFTA no
Eba Ghana.
And what further evidence or testimony so be pursue who say whether I'm the right man to lead this country? We do a bia a sen could be natural biography. Not can you say over autobiography? Now, anybody be only anymore. You say that way, Fedanko by now, you buy so people don't know. To do a bia and so how you autobiography.
But my final question to you would be, sir, all the campaigns are why as a politician, no, a internal party campaign to become flag bearer. Yeah. Now you have a movement. You seek to run for president on the wings of that movement. You see, I know a national campaign. It is saying what shall I say? Now, what shall I say? And it is saying first few months. It is saying,
Obi, I'm telling you, say, people would have a big shock. You'll have a big shock. If you say, we'll say, but people don't appreciate it. Say, I've been a dominant figure in Ghanaian politics, not just MPP politics, in Ghanaian politics. There's no village or town in Ghana, either by facial recognition or by meeting. No village in Kwadakura, I'm not when you're fair, I said maybe policy, but equally importantly, no mistaker and Kofoy and say almost say you have two dominant parties.
Sure.
I'm telling you, MPP, any NDC, or more registered members, which I say a year core members, almost a year dear
on the parties, no.
Omunya more than 1 million for both parties. Opa check if you one more dues, registered members.
1 million for both parties.
1 million. Make us say 1 million.
Okay.
And say MPP call general election. Not nipa 6.5 million to Abamama. 5 million no a year more than 1 million na a year registered. Omo sympathizers. And I do now so a floating voters. The same thing
for the NDC.
For the NDC. And those who are saying so, Alan, they are deceiving them because when we arithmetic, is that what I say? The core members now make even within MPP say, who be on country because Ghana force one country will be an general. There's no art to find the mines
construction from the face.
Now, would a young Chinese call a general election because I then Uncle Bia, my free party.
Yes.
My free party. Party is stronghold. Ashanti region. Argentina almost like 1 month of the. Na meet me ya kukudro. Na me call
Ashanti region.
Ashanti region. Na me si kwemu. So me ka say me ya health work. Shedipa etubaye. It just say we enye sika na wo de komo obi say omro. Say we krampo no 70% of nipa a Ashanti region on person omo bakra no omo ka kwemu omo nyina peka bakra omo ntimi ama if you say me can say I don't want anybody to travel from any part of Ghana so oba work ni bi we dey say
Ashanti region
ye we are mesako other regions Ashanti region even Ashanti region kwa they say omo wo greater Kumasi me pese obi owo
offense ne
yina mo kura dem say mamo ha mo ba we dey just metropolitan area. One only pay by 70% no maka kwemu. Omunya can say komenya ka aba. Enti me say God has ordered my steps right from the beginning. Even I make at the age of 4, class 1. At the age of 9, me call secondary school. I saw 22. I had a distinguished record for USC. Obi onim di our culture. The free mo me ba public sector. And sana you and so I have a distinguished record. And sana me ba politics musu so no. I MPP ayeken. 92 years start here. I was the chairman of the Young Executive Forum. Mranti wo ko nu nyina omo be ye ministers. Omo nyina na me omo chairman. from Baredu of blessed memory, Governor Japan, Courage Kwashiga, Bakmenu, Maria or two for Maria or Sebonsu, Sio, Omuna, young executive for no free mobile. Omuna 92, Yanani Bankrolu party. So I say, ain't
but you've also heard say two major parties ne start your campaign gidi. Movement will be lost in the picture. What is uncommon?
Well, at them no. Sentinel, till the last point I made, Wakana or Matias said, me say, one more registered members are one more bet my country woman and no my country. Between me, where 1 million. What can you know?
Sympathizers and floating voters.
They are not speaking. But the entire me person we are convinced about their mechanism. We the entire just 1 million. If we say between 18 and 35. One will say, you for a 12 almost 60% between 18 and 35. Last election out of 17 million, over 9 point something million, and age between 18 and 35. Sani pay, women they have no attachment, sentimental attachment
to
either
party.
NDC or MPP. You know, Uba, if you are maybe MPP, Uba also Obasemi NDC, Ubi also cry men to Aba. That is the group woman LED movement, you know. And if she can almost a work base, maybe base is bigger than
the political party, the true political party.
If it's as I say, you know, a woman a dozen. Almost also now who say both parties over 32 years. Over years every year, Juma, or year school, 5 years, Unia Juma year. Also, Ubaka to Obama, another government. And 18 to 35. Say, almost Trasian who say, so almost per se, almost registered members, almost registered members. 9 million, so almost per se, almost registered members. Omako sign omudin way into that numbers in the Becoso. They see in Alan Kyerematen and the movement, you know, the new hope for Ghana. If it's almost say, Ghana, your problem you know, how to fix the economy and how to deal with corruption. So your problems be no. I know who a Juma my year before me about politics about how to deal with private sector economy.
Yes.
Me about politics one who Kufu Abreso, Kufu Abreso, you know me who. And what opia or what practical experience and exposure internationally and locally to deal with making sure say we bring the economy back to life. I want to say me and compared to one background bisa not in politics so bisa
outside politics
before no then ejuma no more na eno ye one thing. Number 2 you stamping out corruption. Media maka I've never been corrupt. I'm not correct now and I will never be corrupt. So what I say and my record is there will be him. And but
the final claim among 4 years, so you respond to that near the Abbey and say, Alan in the movement they concentrate your more campaign be now Ashanti region just to reduce MPP full vote. What is our seminar?
Oh, would the kind but also they can say if you are not I'm sorry.
Okay.
But the American say me campaign a national campaign.
Okay.
Now, obviously, Ashanti region in Ghanaian politics are very critical because of the numbers.
Sure.
So what I say.
Sure.
Anna, me fan say also enemy home region. And when say me koye bibi wo ho a. I don't say that's a happening me base. Even within MPP, no one in say if you talk about votes in voter region. Alan and the Lydia Central region are the same thing. Even in the 5 northern regions. Say I find a campaign about. Now say me see the 5 northern regions are And yet delegates, so you see, this is the mistake people are making. And yet delegates are sebi nipa bi e dey wakosha abomo e koto aba. That's what we are talking about the general election. There's nowhere in Ghana, no region. Yeah, Ashanti region kwa. Se me ye general se bi pie wa. Nipa no ensomu empejame. I will say bibia when the time comes now, there's a time and season for everything. The denti amambi dia no afe apeja more no say people are tired of MPP. People are tired of NDC. They are looking for an alternative. Ana nyame cha de wo manya obi so a wo ye experienced politician or ye competent or wo vision ana osaye honest ana ye selfless so go be anim me servant leader. So be a servant leader. And he said, that's what they see in me. Now, as a Ghana for no, yen sheda unhuna jneda. Na maybe
a man for being a shock of the
I made it said the one canon. They say jobs and cash economy
for
Obia Bedidi. Obia
Medase papa painti.
Mofia mobile ni. Na kan. Obia Bedidi.
Oh, okay.
Na dia bi oni ahwe. So onya adwuma ya.
Obenya aduane adi. No. Wow. Area that say be science wedding komo bi hopefully in the coming days and in the coming months. Na fe yahwe the other clusters under the GTP, you know. And who said any maybe see Akwendi, we appreciate you coming. We wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
Why? Me did say obehete.
Oh yes. So then I feel grand master.
You have in was
I feel master.
You have in background.
Now obi a wo watimi aye National Economic Summit. Etime pulu ni peti say. Now me say all these classes are me be now me see road there only say me campaign now the MPP I be so mo ye ka omo anim campaign ya be so even MPP ye ka omo anim campaign pa ya be so masa
Mate, yeah, best answer in Komobi. You could see essentially higher Sempa 94.7 FM. After this short break, here the discussion segment,